The Marinade.
There's no O in Marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone Marinade. The Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle. Welcome to the Marinade with Jason Earle. Today's episode is another in our Suwannee series, conversations recorded at Spirit of the Suwannee Music Park in Live Oak, Florida. Today's episode is the great flatpicking guitar player Jon Stickley of Jon Stickley Trio. I'm so excited to have Jon on the show. My father and I attend Suwannee Spring Reunion and Suwannee Roots Revival, the old Spring Fest and Mag Fest every year. And it's become kind of our big bonding thing twice a year. For a while, it was NASCAR. We'd go to NASCAR races together, and then we rode motorcycles on road trips. And now we've kind of taken to Suwannee as our at least twice a year opportunity to hang and get away from everything and bond over some great music. I've seen everyone from Willie Nelson and Mavis Staples to Drive-By Truckers and Stephen Marley at the park, but this year's music was one of my favorite lineups. The vibe is always one of relaxed community. Suwannee's gorgeous oaks, the peaceful vibes of the amphitheater stage with its strings of light and hammocks on the hill, the vibrant energy of picking circles in the woods, the serenity of the bird sanctuary where we camp with our wonderful friend, the sweet Kay Taylor. And context is kind of important for this episode. See, I first went to Suwannee circa like 2010. Jason Isbell was playing, which is what the draw was for me, my all-time favorite songwriter. And so was Justin Townes Earle, the son of my other all-time favorite songwriter and a damn fine songwriter in his own right. And I want to say the Avett Brothers even played the amphitheater that year, but that could have been another time. I only had a day pass, so I camped at a nearby park and was totally hooked. So the next trip I took, I made sure I camped at Spirit of the Suwannee itself, and that was with a girl who later broke my heart. And this was Bear Creek, which is a kind of now defunct funk and electronic festival. Half the people were in furry costumes, and it was just such a great time. And the girl I was with was self-conscious about how we were dressed because we weren't exactly wearing all kinds of crazy get-ups. And unfortunately, as a result of that, I missed Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. And looking back, that decision was not worth trading for the remaining embarrassing moments of drunken one-sided love. But we live and we learn. Then my dad and I started going. We started going to MagFest and Springfest, Magnolia Fest and Springfest every year. And I'd begun to write about music, reviewing shows, interviewing people, writing short stories about music. I'd been to Suwannee a few times and it began to develop a community at the park. It started to really feel kind of like a home away from home. And the Suwannee Roots festivals tend to invite several of the same artists back each year. Verlin Thompson from episode 2 is one such artist, and so is our guest on this episode. I first learned of Jon Stickley through his incredible publicist, Erin Scholes, who is just a wonderful individual and great at her job. And she gave me my first big breaks in music journalism. And so I tend to pay attention when she recommends someone, and I'm really glad I did on Jon. Jon Stickley Trio is Jon Stickley on flatpicking guitar, Lindsay Pruitt on fiddle, and Hunter Deacon on drums. When I first saw Jon Stickley Trio play in the spring of 2016, I wrote, quote, "It's bluegrass, but don't expect Bill Monroe. It's jazz, but it ain't Grant Green. It's rock, it's punk, it's hip-hop. Jon Stickley's paradigm shift is a paella with just the right amount of each ingredient, resulting in a nourishing dish for body and soul. It's as if Bela Fleck picked up a guitar and started digesting a ton of Dr. Dre and punk music. The music feels like a NyQuil-induced REM dream. Stickley's flat-picking moving at flash speed, but not strictly for velocity's sake. These are carefully constructed songs designed to create a mood and moment and a movement in the listener. Flat-picking guitar is the style Jon plays, and it's kind of a traditional way of playing bluegrass, and we talk about it a little bit during the show. I'm really ill-equipped to try and explain in more detail than that, but my best advice for further context is to find our playlist for this episode on Spotify and listen to Jon Stickley Trio's music, as well as a sampling of the music Jon mentions during the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to bring you Jon Stickley. This episode of The Marinade is brought to you by SJC Venues, operators of Ponte Vedra Concert Hall and the St. Augustine Amphitheater, two of our all-time favorite venues. Humphreys McGee is playing the amphitheater on August 18th, one of the hardest-working bands on the planet, playing one of my favorite venues. Book a campsite at Anastasia State Park. Make the trip. Those guys are fantastic live. Also, Amanda Shires and Corey Brandon are playing Ponte Vedra Concert Hall. That's not part of the promo. I'm just stoked to see them on April 13th. I'll definitely be there. SJC Venues, two of our all-time favorites, Ponte Vedra Concert Hall and the St. Augustine Amphitheater.
Two. That's what we do. 1, 2. Check. Yeah. 1, 2.
Yeah.
Check it. 1, 2, 3.
Hell yeah.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 2.
All right. Man, thanks so much for sitting down with us.
So glad to be here, man.
This is such a pleasure. We're talking with Jon Stickley, and we're at Suwannee. You had a set last night, right?
Yeah, 11:30 to 1. We love those late slots.
That's when the freaks come out.
That's right. Our number one fans.
Well, so that's one of the things that last time we talked, you mentioned that I thought was really, really cool, was you talked about how that one of the things that inspires you a lot is jamming here, well, anywhere really, but getting to play with people like Larry Keel, with people like Tim Carbone, all these people that you have a lot of respect for. And so, like, last night, did that already get started? Did you play a set and then get out there and do your thing?
Well, last night was a little different. We did the drive yesterday down from Asheville. So, that takes, I was really gunning it. I think we were down here in like 7 flat after the Walmart stop.
Damn.
And so I was cruising, but because I was cruising so hard, I was a little frazzled after the drive, honestly. I had a hard time kind of easing into the festival vibe. Yeah. Hey.
Hi.
We just started. Hey.
Hi.
What the fuck
Hey.
is going on?
Oh, this is a family show. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's all good.
I think you can edit this, right?
I can. It depends on how good it is. You guys mind if you end up on the show?
The Bruce one ended up being someone interrupted and Bruce started saying like something. Like, yeah, it's over there. It was like a restaurant.
Yeah, this guy, like, it was a really cool moment. So this guy comes over and tells Bruce that someone has invited him to his restaurant in town. And this guy was, like, so excited to meet Bruce and tell him this. And Bruce was so gracious, as you would expect, But it was a cool moment. I was like, I can't edit that out. That's, like, shows you who this guy is,
Well, And especially because, like, just knowing him, it's like he's like, oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is cool. I mean, that who just came in, that was one of our good musical friends and heroes, Melody Walker of Front Country.
That's awesome.
She's badass. I think she might have even been at my house last night. They played Asheville.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So connections.
Their debut appearance at Suwannee.
Oh,
Oh, no
yes.
Some fun tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, dope.
All throughout the day, but
They're a perfect fit for this
drop
spot.
in, they're gonna have so much fun and fit in like a glove.
That's awesome. When are they playing today? All right. Well, we don't have to look at it now, I guess. We can look at it later, but
All right.
cool.
Carry on.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So you got in late, so maybe not as much of a.
Yeah. So anyway, had to kind of get in the zone and just stumbled actually into this room and kind of had a nice little bit of downtime and then hearing Billy Strings, of course.
Oh my God.
Kind of got me excited a
Yeah.
little bit and kind of also motivated me to go ahead and get my shit together.
Yeah.
And,
Well, he played Gasparilla Music Festival, like a 2:30 set. I didn't know anything about him. I walked into
2:30 a.m.?
No, 2:30 p.m.
PM, yeah.
Middle of the day. I didn't my buzz hadn't kicked in yet.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about what I was getting into. Holy shit.
Yeah, he's a hero of mine and good friend and just a soul flatpicking brother, man. We got some good ones here this weekend.
Who all? So last time I asked you about like a dream jam session, and you had actually, funny, you had jammed with the exact people the night before.
Yeah.
But like for here, when you look at this particular lineup, is there anybody that you're like, oh man, I can't wait to get down with this guy later?
Yeah. Well, gosh, man. I just like jamming with my friends, really, and
Yeah.
a lot of them have now gotten into be in the band and stuff, and be in bands that we see out all over the country and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Larry Keel and Billy Strings for sure. I mean, Sam Bush still gets out and picks with people.
That's crazy.
But
man.
Larry's texting me all week. He's like, "We're gonna pick all weekend." I'm like, yes. So yeah, man. I mean, and I think we might have talked about this last time. Though, is like Spirit of the Suwannee is it's the place where it's where we always jam. We always pick all night and we do our sets, and it draws the music out of you, man. It's so perfect, and everyone's performances are always great because the scenery and the vibe and everything, and a lot of the music that has become part of my, I guess original style, you could say. I remember there's things I do all the time now during shows, and I can remember like specifically the first time I ever did it, like late night at Suwannee. I'm like, whoa, that's when you stumble on something like that's like a breakthrough,
Really? 'Cause I wondered about that because like you've been playing all day, you go to the campsite. I wondered whether it was just a fun pursuit, like I get to play with my friends and people that I respect, or are you taking away from those experiences licks from other people or something you learned?
Yeah, I think that both,
Yeah.
but really like that draws me to it more than anything is that you're in a place where, those ideas are free and accessible and you can reach them because there's no other distractions. You're honed in and you've been doing it for 5 hours now. It's
Yeah.
totally dark. It's hard to get there when you're sitting around. You're sitting around in your kitchen trying to write a song, or come up with a new idea. I'm more thinking about like my cat and my dog and making coffee and all the crap I got to do, like all my chores.
Right.
So
Is there another space? I mean, obviously, Suwannee is kind of especially geared for that, right? Like, there's like that atmosphere. But is there some other place? Clearly, it's not your kitchen. Even though I swear you told me you wrote Rice Dream on your back porch or something.
That was a breakfast table composition for sure. Yeah.
So, like, how often does it strike in those moments versus when you're at a place like this?
It strikes wherever, I think, but it takes for me, it takes a moment of peace to be able to get my head right, and in the zone where I can access the ideas that I'm having, sometimes I feel like we're always having ideas constantly, but being able to remember them or turn it into something that's actually a real thing. I mean, for me, I got to be kind of sometimes in a special place for that to work.
Is that not necessarily sitting down and going to work? Is that like going to work whenever it comes, or are there moments that you carve out where you sit down and do the work?
For me, there's moments of sitting down and doing the work because, like Melody Walker just like writes a song instantly in the van, just like writes it down on paper and has the tune in her head.
Oh my god, that's so inaccurate.
Me, I actually have to sit down and work really hard at it, and a lot of the time the work doesn't even work. I mean, I'll sit down, I'm like, okay, song, let's go, come on. But scrolling back through, I take little notes all the time, and on my phone of little ideas that just pop out when I'm pick up my guitar right the first thing of the day, and so I scroll back through those, try to turn them into songs and stuff. But
like speaking into your phone or typing in the notes.
Sometimes I'll sing into the audio recorder, but other times I'll just record a little. Yeah, I use audio notes, the little audio recorder thing, and I'll just record a little. Sometimes I'll record Lindsay at sound check and she doesn't even know, or I'll record Hunter doing a beat that I'm like, that's a cool beat. We have to write a song to that beat.
Well, that's got to help a lot.
Of songs like that.
Writing in that, because I haven't seen Hunter yet, but I have seen Lindsay play. I've seen Lindsay play so much, and like that, in those moments, you have to get inspired. She's just so fucking good. I would imagine that is going to, in that moment, create opportunities for you to really flesh out ideas. Totally.
Yeah, a lot of inspiration comes from other musicians, for sure, from my bandmates and music I listen to too. I mean, someone could accuse me of ripping off a lot of stuff.
Well, doesn't everybody?
I could accuse myself of that.
Dude, I realized recently, I was reading Larry Brown. I don't know if you ever read Larry Brown, but I realized I write short stories and things like that, and I realized everything I was writing sounded exactly like a cheap version of Larry Brown, and then I was like, I also gave myself permission to do that because I think he's so fucking good, and I went, all right, I sound like Larry Brown right now.
Yeah, if I sound anywhere close to as good as Larry Brown sounds, I'm doing pretty damn good, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, totally okay with it. Last time we talked, you were talking about a song you were writing that I guess would have ended up on the EP. But you were talking about how you were listening to a lot of Propaganda at the time, and it was right after one of the Paris attacks. I feel like there's been 400 of them since we last talked, but
right.
Unfortunately, but
yeah, it's weird. You get numb, and of course, I mean, you try not to, but that one, like, I don't know, that Paris attack, dude, that was, I mean, they're all horrible, but that one for some reason just struck me really, like, slapped me across the face that day, man. I mean, that was crazy.
It is interesting how some of that stuff hits you harder than others. What were you, so at that time, I would guess, I don't know what song that was, or if you remember what song that was, but what were you consuming leading up to the most recent record?
That's a good question, man. Definitely still into the whole technical punk thing, more so than metal too. Like, I don't really like metal that much, but I like the technical tight punk and stuff like that, like NoFX. And so I'll still listen to that a lot. I've been listening to a lot of Tony Rice, of course.
Right.
Still. Grisman, man, it's like listening to, we've had the New Fruition album on in our kitchen nonstop. I don't know if you know those guys.
I do know those guys, and they're wonderful.
Dude, that's one where it goes around on repeat, and I'm like, yes, it's at the beginning again.
Anastasia when St. Augustine when you played. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were there. I was there covering that.
So anyway, I mean, it takes me so long to come up with material for an album that the album wasn't necessarily inspired that much by what I was listening to leading up to doing the album. I mean, it took me forever to get those songs together. So that was like 2 years of listening to all sorts of crap. But right now I just listen to podcasts mainly.
Interesting. I just had a conversation with a musician 2 nights ago, how he was saying he doesn't listen to a lot of music right now. He just listening to podcasts.
Yeah. It's weird, man. I mean, and I just get one I like and I just listen to everything they've done.
Yeah.
Starting from the very beginning. So it's like, like we were talking about, you get to hear the evolution and then you go back and listen to an early one and hear how bad they were, It's, So I'm on a huge like true crime, like I was saying, everyone listened to Serial and now we all like love true crime. So
Yeah.
I've gone through like Case File and it's Australian. It's so good. Case.
Your accent, you mean?
This is he's Australian. Case File. And there's actually a fake one that came out recently. Each episode's like 10 minutes and it's a parody. It's like
No
a
way.
fake true crime podcast.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. It's very and like they'll always like tell you like the worst thing that just happened in the world, and he's like, "Let me tell you about our sponsor, Blue Apron. For just $10 per person per meal, you can get fresh, pre-portioned."
If you're
yeah.
If you're listening, Blue Apron,
I don't want to upset
the
your other
Marinade with
spon-
Jason Earle.
I know your other sponsors though. They'll probably get upset that
Let's get a bidding war going on.
Me undies.
What you got,
Me
Casper?
undies are so comfortable.
Where you at, Casper Mattresses?
I need another pair of me undies. I've been to this festival for too long.
I haven't tried MeUndies. I did.
I have not, no. But they're cute. I mean,
Like Savage Love that you get the MeUndies from.
no, that's extreme restraints.
I did fall for the Casper mattress, and it's fucking good.
I was curious, man.
Yeah,
You like it?
Yeah, it shows up in like
You didn't send it back after 100 days?
no, it shows up in
Wow.
like 3 days in a box.
Case File.
I think like if we just keep mentioning potential lucrative sponsors, then eventually the bots will pick it up and we'll both be super rich. and
Cool.
famous.
All right, JonStickley.com.
Not about
Yep.
their songs on the set. It's about their best subject.
Yep.
I actually did busted out the Blue Apron ad out of nowhere at a show one time.
No way.
And the people that loved it.
Yeah.
Most of the people it was just blankness.
Yeah, well,
Blankness.
if you don't listen to
There
a
was,
fuck
like-
ton of podcasts, that would not hit.
There was 4 people out there that were dying though.
Yeah, that's great, man. Now I've completely lost my train of questioning. Oh, we were talking about like what listening to technical punk and the thing, and then Tony Rice constantly comes up every time you're talking about influences. Who are the sort of canonical, like, if you're a flat-picking guitar player, you gotta listen to these guys or these gals. Like, who are the people that you feel like you keep going back to, keep mining for whatever you can still mine?
There's all the standards, man. I mean, all the newer, there's generations of them kind of. But it kind of started with like Doc Watson, Clarence White. I'd say we're the early pioneers that really got the whole thing going, and then after that, Tony Rice, Norman Blake, those are 2 that are like, they're so stylistic and the music they do is so deep. Those are artists for me that you can like listen to over and over again forever and get something new every time. I mean, that's how I feel about Tony Rice, Norman Blake.
Mm-hmm.
And then the newer guys too, like Tim Stafford, Brian Sutton, Billy Strings. I mean, Larry Keel. But I think the cool, what makes me really like a guitar player is it's like the skills and the technical ability and the taste and the timing and all that stuff, but it has to be done over material that you like, that you just like personally. Like me, I mean, certain stuff I hear guitar players play, I'm like, dude, that is awesome. I love that, but it's over a song that doesn't really resonate with me that much.
Yeah.
So like someone like Tony Rice, the most of the music he did really resonates with me. I just like everything about it, like the style it's done. I mean, the amount of like overplaying versus underplaying, the things he leaves out, and just the tune choice and the execution and stuff. It's like, I like this song too, so I think about that a lot with the trio, is just, and I think, like I said with the Fruition album, I mean, the production's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to a lot of other albums with production that's even better, but the songs don't resonate with me the same way. You know? But
Interesting.
that Fruition album could be done in someone's garage. I'd still want to listen to it on repeat. You know, I mean, because the songs are just, they stick with you. So
So you have all those influences, kind of following that train of thought. You have all those different influences, and of course your music thankfully fits into no box at all, and that's part of what I think does resonate with people, is that they can hear a little bit of punk music in it, and they can hear a little bit of jazz, and they can hear a little bit of hip hop, and they can hear a little bit of bluegrass or whatever it is, and you can connect to that thing, right? So if I go to a Jon Stickley Trio show and I'm a jazz fan, I'm gonna hear a little bit of that. If I'm a hip hop fan, I'm gonna hear a little bit of that, you know, and I can connect to that. When you're putting together a collection of songs that may be influenced from different places, are you sort of aware of any themes in terms of genre, or is there some other method to that?
You kind of got me thinking about a thought that I've had before. I don't know if I've ever really said, but like the trio is an expression of, okay, so bluegrass guitar playing is what got me serious about music, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If I had never stumbled across that, I wouldn't be a musician right now. You know, I'd be like a park ranger. That's what I went to school for.
Mm-hmm.
And so that drew me to everything that is now. And I played bluegrass guitar in a bluegrass band for a really long time, you know, once that took hold. And I think the trio is a little bit of an expression of all the things that I've missed about other music I'd played in my life, and things I've always wanted to do during a bluegrass jam that you aren't really allowed to do because it's a strict kind of traditional format, you know? So you're like, man, I'd really like to just like rock out right now, but I can't because it's like the mandolin player's solo and you got to get real quiet for this part. So having this total control of the band, I mean, you're like, all right, we're going to do this part where I just like slam out power chords, you know, and you play a punk beat, but then we got to have Lindsay doing something real beautiful to kind of make it all okay. Because if we didn't have that, then it would just be butt rock.
Yeah. Man, that's wild. You know, I think I can relate. I guess any creative type can relate to the idea of needing that freedom. But I can totally relate with when I think about the podcast. Like when I'm writing, you know, there are certain things I kind of have to be aware of. I have to be aware of getting the reader's attention in a certain way. I have to be aware of like making sure that I don't drone on and on and on. I need to make, you know, there's a lot of different things, technical things that I need to be worried about. With this, I feel so damn free. I feel like if I just want to throw in a little interlude right now in between, you know, us talking about this and us talking about whatever in the hell we're going to talk about in a second, I can throw in a little interlude. And that could be my buddy, you know, my buddy's band that I think is really fucking cool. And I can put that on there. And there's something really freeing about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's another great thing about podcasts too, man. It's like, dude, it's a conversation going on. Of course it's edited to be interesting, but you know, it's in my headphones right now. We're driving down the road and I'm not going to turn the page if I get bored. I'm in, man, you know, and it's very real.
And there's an authenticity to that I think kind of speaks to why your music resonates, because you're doing what you want and what makes sense to you and what moves you. And so that doesn't ever come through as contrived. Not that bluegrass comes through as contrived necessarily, but it could feel restrictive, and maybe that's what you were feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, totally, man. You know, I mean, it's a format.
Yeah.
And that's what, it's a beautiful format. It's very important, and it's very cool that traditional musicians have kept it alive and, you know, as is. And people have worked within that format to do a lot of really cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, we're still in that format, like in a way, like we're still paying extremely close detail to our tuning and our timing and playing with drive and, you know, pushing ahead of the beat and, you know, following the same arc of a tune, really. You know, even though it sounds, people are like, dude, I don't know why you call it bluegrass at all, you know? And I'm like, dude, in my head, it's very bluegrass.
Yeah.
It's very bluegrass.
I would
to
definitely
me.
call it bluegrass.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, there are so many other influences that come through. But yeah, I'd definitely call it bluegrass. I mean, and like, can you speak a little bit to when you told me a little bit about how like when you made that decision to go away from vocals and just be instrumental, like was that the kind of leap that you were apprehensive about, or is that the kind of leap that you felt like, all right, this is what we need to do?
So yeah, I think we did talk about this last time. That was kind of Dave King from the Bad Plus, the drummer. He came down to produce our first record that we really wanted to do, well.
Yeah.
That wasn't just thrown together. We did a Kickstarter, we got some funding, and we were like, all right, let's do this. And he came down and kind of opened our eyes to something that we, didn't even know we wanted to do, which is like, he came down, he said, man, you guys, the vocals are good. He's like, you guys are great singers, but what I'm seeing shining through are these original compositions, the way you guys arrange this stuff. And it's already like 70% of the material was that. Mm-hmm. And then we had some vocals that we did, some songs, we were trying to get more vocals on the record. So I asked him if he knew of any like covers we could do. And when he got down, he was like, I wanted to hear you guys play first, because I didn't know from what you sent me. I couldn't tell exactly how you guys did stuff. But now that I'm here, I think you guys could really do something cool as an all instrumental project. And we're like my wife's texting me from upstairs because of course she's listening in, and she's like texting us, no, because we had so many people at festivals because we sang maybe 30%, so they would come up after the show and be like, oh, I really wish you guys would sing more. And so we'd been hearing that over and over again, so we were trying to work more vocals in.
Yeah.
And that was our goal with the album.
Yeah.
But so we sat there and thought about it and talked about it with him, and it was almost like we started to see the vision, and our eyes were opening up, and we're like, you mean we can do that? And he was like, I make a really good living at it. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So that's when we did it. And we went and just recorded an all instrumental record. We grabbed a couple older tunes and reworked them to fill in for the vocal stuff we were planning on doing. And it wasn't long before we came down to Suwannee Spring Fest. It was our first festival of the season, and we did our first all instrumental set, and it was just magical. I never felt so right at a show ever.
Yeah.
No one said anything about the fact that we didn't sing.
Right.
It just, it's like, why would you sing?
Right.
With that, if you're doing that, you don't need to sing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just crazy, weird, happenstance experience. And if we hadn't hired Dave to produce the record, we'd still be singing.
That's
and
wild.
we probably wouldn't have. There's a good chance we might not even be a band anymore.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Wild, man. You really think so?
I mean, I think the all instrumental thing was huge for us as far as standing out as an original project that people, turn their heads.
Right.
They're like, it just,
yeah.
I don't know. It's so us because it's what we love doing, man. We're pickers.
Right.
I like singing bluegrass songs all day long, but
yeah,
the original music we're composing, none of us are lyricists really, and that music just, we'd have to have someone like, Melody Walker from Front Country or Bjork or somebody really cool to sing over this shit. And it's like, it wasn't me or Lindsay.
Right.
And that's kind of what Dave told us. He's like, man, someone could really sing over this.
Yeah.
But, it's not me singing Sitting on Top of the World, like.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's really cool. I'm so glad it worked out that way because there is nothing like what y'all do, and I love it.
Cool.
For the folks listening, if you haven't seen them play and they'll come to your town, you have to do it. Like that set on the porch stage, I guess it may have been that very set that I first saw you. I don't remember, but I was taking photos. I was in the photo pit, and the energy was just the craziest thing I've ever seen. And there was this moment in Octopickin where Lindsay kind of messed up a little bit, but you can tell she did it intentionally, and she's like fucking with you a little bit, and you kind of fucked with her a little bit back. There's this wonderful interplay, this chemistry, you know, that was so much fun, and it sounded so beautiful.
Cool, man. That, you know, and that's the stuff that started happening when we stopped having to think about singing. We could only focus on the instrumental side of things, and how can we make the show interesting, you know. And that's something we're still doing all the time. It's like, man, all right, we got to do it. At this festival this weekend, we're doing 2 hour-and-a-half long sets, and then an hour-long set.
Damn.
So that's 4 hours of music?
Yeah.
All instrumental that we have to, like, you know, and a lot of people are going to see all 3 of those.
Yep.
So you can't do the exact same show. I mean, you got to switch it up.
Right.
So we're going to play every song that we play this weekend and try to make it each performance unique, with transitions and flow and all this stuff. And that's one of the blessings that came along with us switching to all instrumental, is we could really hone in on all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a blast.
Well, I want to say that one you played, like, that was when Lost at Last was out, right?
Yep.
And then you play, I think that was all you had for the instrumental, right? Was that the first fully instrumental record you released?
Actually, no, the first Jon Stickley Trio record, the record before that, was also all instrumental.
Okay.
But we weren't even really a band yet. You know, it's kind of a thrown together record. We're happy with how it turned out, but it was early. So we had some tunes from that too.
Okay. So that one, you played a lot though from that record. And then you closed with, I'm pretty sure you ended the set with Nirvana's Smell Like Teen Spirit.
Well, we do a Smells Like Teen Spirit quote.
Okay. All right.
We don't play the whole song. We probably should. That'd be really cool.
That would be so fucking cool.
Also kind of a Bad Plus ripoff, because they do that. And
okay.
It's awesome. But that was one of those things. It's like, dude, I get to, like, wow, it's an original project and I'm in total control, and we can kick off a song with Smells Like Teen Spirit if we want.
Yeah. That's great, man. Well, Jon, thank you so much for all your time. I'm looking forward to the remaining sets that you have. I'm going to catch every one of them for sure, and looking forward to seeing what you got.
You too, Jason, man. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers, man. Jon Stickley, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. What an amazing conversation. What a great guy and a talented artist. Thank you so much to my dad for everything that you have done for me over my entire life, and for continuing to share that community with me at Suwannee. Thank you to Aaron for setting this up with Jon. Thank you to Jon. Thank you to Melody Walker and Front Country. You should check those guys out. Some of them are on our Spotify playlist. Some of their songs are on our Spotify playlist, so you can check that out. And I appreciate them sharing their space with us while we had that interview. Thank you to Kay Taylor, our good friend, and Suwannee sister, who is just so wonderful and brings such joy into the world. You can now listen to The Marinade with Jason Earle on Spotify. You might be doing that right now. And follow our playlists. I'm going to go back and try to create playlists for all of our past episodes. You can just search The Marinade with Jason Earle, episode 11, Jon Stickley, and it should pop up. Make sure that you email us with any things that you want to see. Thank you guys for being active on Twitter, @Marinade Podcast. We'll get a lot of good interactions from fans on Twitter, and I appreciate that. Our email is marinadepodcast@gmail.com. Instagram, marinade_podcast. Been getting a lot of feedback on my short stories, which I really appreciate. It's fun to do those. I base those on the artwork of my partner in life, Chris Osborne. You can follow her @ReelArtistic, REEL Artistic, on all your social media. And so you can check out her work there. She's also the beautiful voice at the beginning of the show, doing the intro, juxtaposed with my ramblings. So thank you guys so much. We're on iTunes, we're on Google Play, we're on SoundCloud. If there's any other place where you consume podcasts that you'd like to see us, just let me know, and I'll do my best to get us on there as well. I think we got them pretty much covered, though. Thank you guys so much for everything. Thank you for continuing to listen. Thank you again to all the people that I mentioned before. Cheers, y'all. Hey y'all, thank you so much for the feedback that you've given me about this new segment, What I'm Getting Down On, which still doesn't have a name. Maybe we'll call it What I'm Getting Down On, but for right now, that'll have to be what we're going to roll with. I've been reading Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man, one of those classics that I've never really had a chance to get to. It's wonderful. It's just a lot, it's just anytime you're talking about heavy concepts of race, and he writes in a way that's really visceral, and a lot of the things that happen in the book are kind of heavy to deal with. So it's taken me a little while. I've also been listening to the most recent couple of Jon Stickley records, and then also really going back and re-listening to Amanda Shire's entire catalog. If you're not familiar with Amanda, you probably are if you're listening to this show, but if you're not familiar with Amanda's music, I highly recommend that you go and check her out. She's amazing. So that's kind of what I've been getting down on recently. Thank you guys so much again for everything. Cheers.